The bridge of the UES Thunderstrike hummed with quiet energy as Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood before the massive viewing screen. Stars stretched endlessly into the black void of space around them. His fleet of 12 warships moved through the outer rim territories like silent hunters in the darkness. Kim had been patrolling these empty systems for 3 months now. The Human Defense Fleet sent his 7th battle group to guard the frontier regions where pirates and smugglers liked to hide. It was boring work most days. Today felt different, though. Something was coming. Lieutenant Yu Ji-min sat at the communication station, running her daily checks on all frequencies. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she searched for any unusual signals. The young officer had joined the fleet only 6 months ago, but she was already one of their best communication specialists. Admiral Jimin called out suddenly. Her voice carried a note of excitement and worry. "I am picking up a transmission on the emergency frequency. It is very weak, but definitely artificial." Kim turned from the viewing screen and walked over to her station. Captain Park Jin-woo of the destroyer Shadowbane was already standing beside the communications console. Park was Kim's most trusted officer and had served with him for over 10 years. "What kind of transmission?" Kim asked as he looked at the data scrolling across Ji-min's screen. "It appears to be a distress signal, sir. The language is not in our database, but the mathematical patterns suggest it is a call for help. The signal is coming from the Kepler 442 system, about 12 light-years from our current position." Park frowned as he studied the readouts. "That system is supposed to be uninhabited according to our star charts. Could be a trap, sir. Pirates sometimes use fake distress calls to lure in rescue ships." Before Kim could respond, Jimin spoke again. "Admiral, I am getting more of the signal now. Our computers are starting to decode parts of it. The transmission is coming from a species that calls themselves the Villani." The main screen flickered and changed to show a 3-dimensional map of local space. A red dot pulsed in the Kepler 442 system, showing the source of the distress signal. Kim studied the tactical display while his mind worked through the possibilities. "What else can you tell us about this signal, Lieutenant?" Kim asked. G-Min worked at her console for several minutes before responding. "The message is repeating, sir. From what I can decode, they are asking for help from any civilized species that receives their transmission. They mentioned something about invaders and their cities being destroyed." Commander Lee Soman's voice came over the communication system from her cruiser Iron Fist. "Admiral, this could be exactly what the pirates want us to think. A helpless alien species calling for rescue. We could be flying straight into an ambush." Kim understood her concerns. Commander Lee was responsible for fleet security, and it was her job to be suspicious. But something about this transmission felt genuine. To him, the mathematical patterns and the way the signal degraded suggested it was traveling a very long distance through space. "Jimin, can you clean up more of the signal?" Kim asked. The young lieutenant worked for another 10 minutes, adjusting frequencies and running the data through multiple translation programs. Finally, she looked up with wide eyes. "Admiral, I think I have more of the message decoded. Put it through the speakers," Kim ordered. A strange voice filled the bridge. Clearly not human, but somehow conveying deep emotion despite the alien language. The computer's translation appeared as text on the screens around the bridge. "Please, anyone who receives this message, we are the Villani of the water world Aquatica. Unknown ships came from the void 3 days ago. They attack our cities beneath the waves. Our people are dying or being taken as prisoners. We have no weapons to fight them. We offer our most sacred biotechnology in exchange for help. Please, if there is mercy in the galaxy, help us before we are all gone." The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed the desperate plea. Kim looked around at his officers and saw the same mixture of sympathy and caution in their faces that he felt in his own heart. Park stepped closer to Kim and spoke quietly. "Sir, if this is real, those people need help immediately. But if it is a trap, we could lose the entire battle group." Kim stared at the pulsing red dot on the tactical display. 12 ships under his command. Over 8,000 human souls, depending on his decision. But somewhere in that distant system, an entire alien civilization might be facing extinction. "Helm, set course for the Kepler 442 system," Kim ordered. "All ships, Prepare for possible combat operations. The human defense fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Admiral Kim Dae-ho felt his stomach sink as the tactical displays lit up with red warning indicators. What they found was far worse than anyone had imagined. "Jesus Christ," whispered Captain Park Jin-woo as he stared at the main viewing screen from his position on the Thunderstrike bridge. Before them lay the Volani homeworld of Aquatica, a beautiful blue planet covered mostly in vast oceans. But surrounding the planet was a massive alien fleet unlike anything in human records. Dozens of dark warships hung in space like hungry predators circling their prey. "Tactical report," Kim ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. Lieutenant Commander Kim Young-soo at the tactical station worked frantically at his console. "Admiral, I count 63 enemy vessels, multiple ship classes including what appear to be dreadnought-sized battleships. Their technology signatures are unknown, but power readings suggest they significantly outgun our entire battle group. The enemy ships were sleek and angular, painted in dark colors that seemed to absorb light. Strange energy patterns flickered along their hulls like veins carrying poisonous blood. Even from this distance, the alien vessels radiated menace and power. "Sir, incoming transmission," announced Lieutenant Yu Gimin from the communications station. "The signal is coming from the alien fleet." "Put it through," Kim replied, dreading what he might hear. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of an alien warship. The creature that appeared was tall and reptilian with scaled skin that shifted between dark green and black. Its eyes were cold yellow orbs that seemed to look right through the human officers. When it spoke, the translation system rendered its words in perfect, mocking English. "Welcome, humans, to your graveyard. I am War Commander Vec of the Keth Dominion. You have responded exactly as we predicted you would." Kim felt ice form in his stomach, but kept his expression neutral. "This is Admiral Kim Dae-ho of the Human Defense Fleet. We received a distress signal from this system." The alien creature made a sound that might have been laughter. "Yes, the pathetic Volani and their desperate crying for help. Such useful bait they make. You are the 47th species to answer their call for rescue." "47th?" Park repeated quietly, his face going pale. War Commander Vec continued with obvious pleasure. "The Volani fish people sent their distress signal exactly as we programmed them to do. Every few months, another foolish rescue fleet arrives thinking they can save these worthless creatures. Your ships and technology will make excellent additions to our war machine, just like all the others." On cue, several of the Keth warships shifted position to reveal horrifying trophies. Pieces of alien spacecraft had been welded to their hulls like gruesome decorations. Kim could see the remains of at least a dozen different ship designs, each representing a destroyed civilization that had tried to help the Volani. "You see?" Admiral Kim, Vec said, pronouncing the human name with distaste. "Compassion is a weakness we have learned to exploit. Your kind will join the others who thought mercy and kindness could triumph over superior firepower." Captain Choi Min-ho's voice crackled over the communication system from his battleship Warhammer. "Admiral, sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. The Keth have orbital platforms positioned around Volani population centers. The tactical display updated to show the true horror of the situation. The Keth had built weapons platforms directly above every major Volani city. Millions of innocent aquatic beings were being used as living shields to protect the enemy installations. Any attack on our positions," Vec explained with cruel satisfaction, "will result in the immediate death of every remaining Volani on the planet. We estimate there are still about 20 million of the fish creatures alive. They make such excellent hostages." Kim's hands clenched into fists at his sides. The Keth had created a perfect trap. Fight and cause the death of millions of innocents. Surrender and doom his own fleet, along with any future rescue attempts. "You have 1 hour to surrender your vessels," Vec continued. "Your crews will be given the honor of serving the Keth Dominion as slaves. Your ships will be broken down and their technology integrated into our war fleet. This is the only mercy you will receive." The communication ended and the bridge fell, silent except for the hum of electronics. Kim stared at the tactical display, showing his 12 ships surrounded by over 60 enemy vessels. Behind them, Keth reinforcements were already jumping into the system, cutting off any hope of retreat. Commander, Lee Soman's voice came over the fleet channel, tight with controlled anger. Admiral, long-range sensors detect additional Keth fleets moving to surround us. They have at least 20 more ships jumping in from hyperspace. Kim looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers. He saw fear there, but also determination and trust. These people believed in him to find a way out of this impossible situation. All ships, maintain formation and prepare for combat operations, Kim ordered. We did not come this far to surrender to butchers and slavers. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood in the center of his bridge as the Keth ultimatum counted down. 53 minutes remained before War Commander Vec expected their surrender. Around him, his officers worked at their stations with quiet determination. None of them spoke about the impossible odds they faced. Kim activated the secure fleet communication channel. All senior officers report to Thunderstrike immediately for emergency tactical conference. Bring your best ideas because conventional warfare is not going to save us. Within 20 minutes, the flagship's main briefing room filled with the commanders and senior staff from across the human fleet. Captain Park Jin-woo sat directly across from Kim, his weathered face showing the strain of their situation. Commander Lee So-min entered with Lieutenant Colonel Han Soo-jin, the brilliant Marine strategist who had earned her reputation in the border wars. Ladies and gentlemen, Kim began, we face an enemy that has destroyed 46 rescue fleets. Before us, they expect us to either surrender or fight them the same way everyone else did. I propose we give them something they have never seen before. Captain Choi Min-ho from the battleship Warhammer leaned forward. Admiral, with respect, their firepower advantage is overwhelming. Even if we had some new tactic, the numbers are impossible. Lieutenant Colonel Han Soo-jin spoke up from her position near the tactical display. Sir, I have been studying the Keth fleet formations and their ship positions. They are arranged exactly like a traditional siege force. They expect their enemies to either flee or charge directly at them. What are you thinking, Colonel? Kim asked. Han manipulated the holographic display to show the battlefield from different angles. The Keth have positioned themselves to counter conventional attack patterns. But humans have never been conventional. We adapt. We improvise. We use our enemies' expectations against them. Commander Okungsu from the stealth corvette Ghostwalker raised his hand. Admiral, what if we made them think they were fighting 3 separate fleets instead of 1? Our electronic warfare systems are more advanced than anything they have captured before. Kim's eyes lit up with interest. Explain. Our ships carry the most sophisticated sensor jammers and holographic projectors in known space. Oak continued. We could create false sensor signatures that make our 12 ships appear as 36 vessels approaching from 3 different vectors. The Keth battle computers would have to split their attention and firepower. Captain Park nodded slowly. That could work, but only if we coordinate it with actual attacks. The illusions won't fool them for long. Captain Yoon Ha-young from the carrier Stormbringer had been studying the tactical data on her portable display. I have an idea that might help. Our new AI-guided torpedo swarms are designed to learn and adapt during flight. Instead of programming them with standard attack patterns, we let them develop their own approach to each target. The Keth have been integrating captured technology from dozens of species, Commander Lee added. Their defense systems are programmed to counter known weapons and tactics, but our adaptive torpedoes would create attack patterns that have never existed before. Lieutenant Colonel Han stepped closer to the holographic display. We could combine these approaches into a 3-phase operation. Phase 1. Electronic warfare creates maximum confusion with false fleet signatures. Phase 2. While they are trying to counter multiple phantom attack groups, we hit their command vessels with precision strikes using unpredictable weapons. Phase 3. Use the chaos to extract Vellani civilians while systematically destroying their fleets. Kim walked around the tactical display, studying the enemy positions from every angle. The plan was risky and required perfect timing, but it played to every human strength while exploiting Keth's weaknesses. There is one more factor we need to consider, said Captain Kim Dongmin from the heavy cruiser Retribution. The Keth are using Vellani population centers as shields. We need to be extremely precise in our targeting to avoid civilian casualties. That is where our Marines come in, Han Soo-jin said with confidence. while the fleet engages the Keth warships. Marine assault teams can board their orbital platforms and disable them from within. We save the Villani and remove the shields at the same time. Commander O looked concerned. Colonel, those platforms are heavily defended. Getting Marine teams aboard will be nearly impossible. Not if we create enough chaos in space, Han replied. While the Keth fleet is dealing with phantom attacks and adaptive weapons, small assault craft can slip through their defenses. Marines are trained for impossible missions. Kim felt the pieces of the plan coming together in his mind. It was complex and dangerous, requiring split-second timing and perfect execution, but it was also completely unlike anything the Keth had faced before. The key to success, Kim said to his assembled officers, is that we do not fight like any species they have encountered. We use deception, adaptation, and innovation instead of brute force. Lieutenant Commander Kim Young-soo from Tactical raised a concern. Admiral, even with these tactics, we are still vastly outnumbered. If the plan fails, we lose everything. If we surrender or fight conventionally, we lose everything anyway, Park replied firmly. At least this gives us a chance to save the Villani and maybe take some of these butchers with us. Captain Yoon stood up from her chair. Sir, my fighter squadrons are ready for whatever you need. Our pilots have been training with the new adaptive flight systems. We can provide cover for the Marine assault teams. How long do we need to implement this plan? Kim asked. Han consulted her tactical computer. 30 minutes to reprogram all systems and brief the crews. The electronic warfare setup alone will take 20 minutes. Kim looked around the room at his officers. These people represented the best of humanity's military tradition. They were facing impossible odds, but none of them suggested retreat or surrender. We have 41 minutes until the Keth deadline, Kim announced. Execute the plan. All ships prepare for Operation Phantom Strike. The officers dispersed quickly to their vessels. Kim remained in the briefing room with Park and Han, watching the tactical display as his fleet began its preparations. Sir, Han said quietly, there is something else you should know. I have been analyzing the Keth ship configurations. They are using technology from multiple species, but the integration appears flawed. If we can exploit those weaknesses, what kind of weaknesses? Kim asked. Their power systems are hybrids of different alien technologies that were never designed to work together. If we target the right connection points, we might cause cascade failures that destroy entire ships. Kim smiled grimly. The Keth thought their stolen technology made them invincible. They were about to learn that human engineers understood something they did not. Sometimes the most advanced solution was also the most fragile. Include that information in the targeting data for all ships, Kim ordered. It is time to show the Keth what happens when humans go to war. The final minutes of the Keth ultimatum ticked away as Admiral Kim Dae-ho watched his fleet's preparations complete. Operation Phantom Strike was ready to begin. Every ship had reported their systems online and crews at battle stations. The moment of truth had arrived. All ships, this is Admiral Kim, he announced over the fleet channel. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every innocent life the Keth have destroyed. Show them what happens when they mistake human compassion for weakness. Execute Operation Phantom Strike. Commander Okangsu aboard the Ghostwalker initiated the first phase. His corvette's advanced electronic warfare systems came online, flooding space with false sensor readings. Within seconds, the Keth fleet's sensors detected what appeared to be 3 separate human battle groups approaching from different directions. The main tactical display on Thunderstrike showed the beautiful deception unfolding. Where 12 human ships had been moments before, now 36 Phantom vessels appeared to be closing in on the Keth positions. The enemy fleet immediately began repositioning to counter the multiple threats. Phase 1 successful, reported Lieutenant Commander Kim Young-soo. Keth fleet is splitting their formation to engage multiple Phantom groups. War Commander Vex's angry voice crackled over the communication channel. Clever humans, but your tricks will not save you. All ships, focus fire on the real vessels. Ignore the false readings. But the Keth battle computers were already confused. Their targeting systems could not distinguish between real and Phantom ships fast enough to coordinate effective fire. The enemy fleet found itself shooting at shadows while the real human vessels remained largely undetected. Phase 2. Execute. Kim ordered. Captain Yoon Ha-yoong's carrier Stormbringer launched its first wave of eye-guided torpedo swarms. Unlike traditional weapons that followed predictable flight paths, these torpedoes began learning and adapting the moment they left their tubes. They weaved through space in patterns that had never existed before, constantly changing course and speed. The Keth Point defense systems tried to track the adaptive weapons, but failed catastrophically. The torpedoes seemed to anticipate every defensive move, slipping past laser grids and missile interceptors like ghosts. They struck their targets with precision that surprised even the human crews. Direct hits on 3 Keth cruisers, reported the tactical officer. Their shields are down and they are showing heavy damage, Captain Choi. Minho's battleship Warhammer moved into position for the most dangerous part of the plan. His massive ship charged directly at a Keth dreadnought, using the Phantom Fleet illusions as cover. The enemy vessel was firing at false targets when Warhammer appeared at point-blank range. All forward batteries, fire, Choi commanded. The battleship's experimental plasma rams discharged directly into the Keth dreadnought's hull. The alien vessel's shields collapsed under the massive energy discharge, and secondary explosions began rippling along its length. The enemy ship's hybrid power systems, weakened by the integration of incompatible technologies, suffered exactly the cascade failure that Lieutenant Colonel Han had predicted. Keth Dreadnought is breaking apart, the tactical officer announced. With amazement, complete structural failure, the destruction of their largest warship sent shockwaves through the Keth fleet. War Commander Vex's voice returned, no longer mocking but filled with rage. Impossible. No species has ever penetrated our defenses like this. While the space battle raged, Lieutenant Colonel Han Sujin led her marine assault teams toward the orbital platforms protecting the Vellani cities. The small assault craft moved through the chaos of the battle, invisible to Keth's sensors that were overwhelmed by phantom targets and adaptive weapons. Marine 1 to Fleet Command, Han reported over the tactical channel. We are approaching the first platform. Keth defenders appeared to be focused on the space battle. Commander Shin Yoonji piloted her fighter squadron through the debris field of destroyed Keth vessels, using the wreckage as cover. Her pilots flew with precision that amazed even veteran spacers, threading their small craft between laser blasts and missile explosions. They provided escorts for the Marine teams while conducting their own attacks on enemy vessels. This is Dragon Leader Shin reported. We have enemy fighters incoming. Engaging now. The space around Aquatica became a swirling battlefield of ships, weapons, fire, and explosions. But slowly, methodically, the human plan was working. The Keth fleet that had seemed invincible was beginning to crack under pressure they had never experienced before. Captain Park Jin-woo's destroyer, Shadowbane, flanked a group of Keth cruisers that was still firing at phantom targets. His ship's weapons found the critical junction points that Han had identified, where stolen alien technologies interfaced with Keth systems. Target their power coupling arrays, Park ordered his weapons officer. Hit them where their different technologies connect. The destroyer's precision fire struck exactly where the Keth had integrated captured systems with their own technology. The incompatible alien technologies turned against each other, creating feedback loops that destroyed the enemy ships from within. One by one, Keth vessels began suffering catastrophic system failures. Their greatest strength, the stolen technology from 46 conquered species, became their fatal weakness. The different alien systems had never been designed to work together, and human engineering knowledge exploited every incompatibility. Admiral, called Lieutenant Colonel Han from the first orbital platform. We have secured the weapons array and freed approximately 50,000 Vellani civilians. The platform shields are down. Excellent work, Colonel, Kim replied. All ships, the orbital platforms are no longer protected. You are cleared to engage. The human fleet turned its attention to the remaining Keth positions around the planet. Without the protection of Vellani hostages, the orbital platforms became easy targets for human precision fire. Years of careful planning by the Keth crumbled as their perfect trap became their tomb. War Commander Vex's transmission cut through the battle noise one final time. This is impossible. We have conquered 46 species. We have the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. Admiral Kim's voice was cold and hard when he responded. You made one critical mistake, Commander. You confused technology with wisdom. You have powerful ships, but you never learned how to use them properly. Humans do not just adapt to our enemies. We make our enemies adapt to us. The tide of battle had completely turned. The Keth fleet, which had seemed invincible an hour before, was being systematically destroyed by a force 1/5 their size. Human ingenuity, adaptability, and precision were proven superior to stolen technology and brute force. But the battle was not over yet. The remaining Keth ships were rallying for a final desperate assault, and Admiral Kim knew his fleet had to finish what they started. The final phase of the battle began as War Commander Vec rallied his remaining ships for one last desperate assault. The Keth fleet had been reduced from over 60 vessels to barely 20 operational warships. But their commander refused to accept defeat. His voice echoed across all communication channels with fury and disbelief. All remaining vessels target the human flagship. If we cannot win this battle, we will at least take their leader with us into death. Admiral Kim Daeho watched the tactical display as the surviving Keth ships formed up for their final charge. These were the most heavily armored vessels in their fleet, the ones that had survived the systematic destruction of Operation Phantom Strike. They would not go down. Easily, all ships formed defensive formation around Thunderstrike, Kim ordered. They won a final fight. We will give them one they will never forget. Captain Park Jinwoo maneuvered his destroyer Shadowbane to intercept the leading Keth battleship. His ship had taken heavy damage during the battle, with multiple hull breaches and failing shield generators. But Park was determined to protect his admiral. Shadowbane to Fleet Command, Park reported. I am moving to block their approach. My ship can take one of their big ones with us. Negative, Captain, Kim replied firmly. We do not trade lives unnecessarily. Fall back and let them come to us. But Park had already committed his ship to the attack run. The destroyer accelerated toward the massive Keth battleship, all weapons firing. The enemy vessel returned fire with everything they had, turning space between them into a storm of energy and explosions. Sir, Park's voice came over the communication channel one final time. It has been an honor serving with you. The destroyer, Shadowbane, rammed directly into the Keth battleship's command section at full speed. Both ships disappeared in a brilliant explosion that lit up the battlefield like a new star. The blast was so powerful it damaged to other Keth vessels nearby. Admiral Kim closed his eyes for a moment, honoring his old friend's sacrifice. Then he opened them with cold determination. All remaining ships, make them pay for every meter of space. Show them why humanity does not surrender. Commander Lee Solman's cruiser Iron Fist engaged two Keth destroyers simultaneously, her superior human-trained crew outmaneuvering the enemy vessels with precision flying. The Keth ships had more firepower, but Iron Fist had better tactics and more experienced officers. Enemy destroyers are trying to flank us, reported Lee's tactical officer. Let them come, Lee replied calmly. Divert all power to rear shields and prepare the surprise we have been saving. Iron Fist had been equipped with an experimental weapon system that most of the fleet did not know about. As the Keth destroyers moved into what they thought was a killing position, Lee activated the new plasma wave generator. A burst of superheated energy erupted from her ship's hull in all directions, instantly destroying both enemy vessels. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Han Sujin continued her assault on the orbital platforms around the Her Marine teams had secured 3 of the 5 weapons platforms and were advancing on the 4th. Thousands of Villani civilians had already been evacuated to safety. Colonel Han to Fleet Command, she reported while directing her troops through heavy fighting aboard the platform. We have freed over 200,000 Villani so far. The aliens are incredibly grateful and want to help us fight. What kind of help can they provide? Kim asked. Sir, the Villani have biotechnology we never imagined. They are offering to enhance our ship systems with living components that can repair damage automatically and adapt to enemy weapons. Even in the middle of the final battle, Kim was amazed by this development. The Villani were not just victims to be rescued. They were potential allies with technology that could revolutionize human space warfare. Captain Yoon Hying's carrier Stormbringer launched the last of its fighter squadrons to support the marine operations. Commander Shin Yoonji led her pilots in a daring attack on the final Keth command ship where War Commander Vec was making his last stand. Dragon Squadron to all units, Shin announced. We are going after their leader. If we take him out, the rest might surrender. The fighters dove through intense defensive fire from the Keth flagship. Shin's piloting skills were legendary throughout the fleet, and she proved them again by threading her fighter through laser grids that should have been impossible to penetrate. Target their bridge section. Shin ordered her squadron. Concentrated. Fire on my mark. The fighter struck the Keth flagship's command center with surgical precision. Secondary explosions rippled through the alien vessel as critical systems failed. War Commander Vec's final transmission was cut off mid-sentence as his ship began breaking apart, with their leader dead and their fleet decimated. The remaining Keth vessels finally began to surrender. One by one, alien captains sent surrender signals to the human fleet. The battle that had seemed impossible to win was finally over. Admiral Kim stood on his bridge, looking at the tactical display that now showed only 8 operational human ships. They had lost 4 vessels, including Park's destroyer, but they had achieved the impossible. The Keth trap had been completely destroyed. All ships cease fire and begin rescue operations, Kim ordered. Secure all surrendering vessels and begin evacuating remaining Vellani civilians. Colonel Nam Woo-jin led the boarding parties that secured the surrendering Keth ships. What they found inside horrified even the experienced Marines. Ship after ship contained thousands of prisoners from dozens of different alien species. The Kith had been enslaving entire civilizations for decades. Admiral Nam reported over the communication channel, "We have found survivors from at least 30 different species aboard these ships. Some have been prisoners for years." The scope of the Keth crimes became clear as the human Marines explored vessel after vessel. The aliens had not just been conquering worlds for resources, they had been systematically enslaving every intelligent species they encountered, using them as forced labor and experimental subjects. But now the nightmare was over. The Vellani elder choral singer Depths of Wisdom contacted Admiral Kim personally to express her people's gratitude. Her translated words carried deep emotion that touched every human who heard them. Admiral Kim, your people have given us back our lives and our world. We offer you our most sacred biotechnology, not as payment, but as a gift between allies. The galaxy is safer because humans exist. Kim declined any payment for the rescue, explaining that humans helped others because it was the right thing to do. This gesture impressed the Vellani even more than the military victory had. They insisted on sharing their technology freely as the foundation of a new alliance. As the human fleet prepared to depart Aquatica with refugee ships from multiple species, word of their victory began spreading throughout the galaxy. The Keth Dominion's reputation for invincibility had been shattered by a small human fleet that refused to abandon innocent victims. Other alien civilizations started sending messages to Earth, requesting diplomatic contact and mutual defense agreements. The galaxy had seen what happened when humans went to war for justice, and they wanted these strange new allies on their side. Admiral Kim received new orders from Earth Fleet Command as his battle group escorted the refugee ships toward human space. He was promoted to Fleet Admiral and tasked with establishing the first human Galactic Defense Command. His mission would be to coordinate rescue operations and anti-piracy efforts. Across known space, the aliens had sent an SOS expecting salvation, and the human war fleet had indeed brought death. But that death had come only to those who preyed upon the innocent. For the victims of oppression throughout the galaxy, the humans had brought something far more precious than mere rescue. They had brought hope.